Welcome to the Blue Duck Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the Week 5 recap show, take 2. Matt, you pressed record this time, I hope?
I did not.
I'm your host, Ben, and with me as always is Matty Nice. If this is your first time watching or listening, make sure you follow or subscribe as we post 2 podcasts a week, recapping and previewing the NFL games. We go into player values, trade targets, waiver ads, and more, so make sure you hit that button so you get notified when something new is posted. But let's get into previewing into recapping Week 5. Matt, why don't you hit us with any news from today?
Nothing of significance that we're going to be talking about and having to replace anybody fantasy-wise next week.
All right, let's jump right into the games. Matt, why don't you tell us about the Cardinals who faced off against the Bengals today?
Good day for Kyler in the sense that he was rushing a lot. 93 yards really saved his day along with the rushing touchdown. We kind of expected this a little bit going into the season, finally starting to see it a little bit. Big volume day for David Johnson, 17 carries, 3 catches, high yardage. Chase Edmonds vaulted the touchdown there, though. Fitzy, the only other player I want to talk about, thought he'd have a bigger day without Christian Kirk in the lineup.
Yeah, I agree. A little bit of a disappointing day for Larry Fitzgerald, but Murray did spread the ball around. Nice game for DJ, especially through the air. It's nice to see him getting those PPR points and the yardage through the air. Finally, great to see Kyler Murray using those legs, that dual-threat quarterback that we expected coming into the season. He had been climbing up to this and finally delivered. So Kyler Murray going to be moving up in my rankings going forward. As for the Bengals, this turned out to be a decent game for Andy Dalton, but man, that was a bad first half. I expected Ryan Finley to come out to start the second. He didn't, and Dalton, who was our number 2 quarterback to add after waivers ran this week, was actually pretty decent. 14 targets for Tyler Boyd. Expect that again next week, as I don't expect A.J. Green to be back. And Matt, your favorite player, Joe Mixon, continues to improve. Went over 100 total yards today. Where do you rank Joe Mixon rest of season?
I've got Joe Mixon ranked at number 14 for the rest of the season.
14, not 4?
Correct.
You can't have him at 14 because I have him at 12, and he's your favorite player, so you have to have him higher. Apparently, maybe he's my favorite player.
Yep.
Anyways, moving on to the Falcons at the Texans. We said this might be a high-scoring game. We were definitely right about that. But one question for you, Matt, since you have the same name as the guy. Can you explain to me how Matt Ryan gets to have such a good game and Julio Jones cannot?
They spread the ball around a lot today. There's not really any other way to explain it. They were nine targets there for Calvin Ridley, 9 for Hooper, 6 for Ito Smith, 7 for Julio, 5 for Sanu, 5 for Freeman. He spread it out, and Julio only caught 3 of those 7 targets, 42 yards. Not a great day for him. Was hoping to see a lot more of that as I had him in my DFS lineup. But overall, a really good day for Matt Ryan, obviously, with 330 and a 3-touchdown performance there. Julio, don't panic on him. Ridley looks okay. Devonta Freeman, 70 yards and a touchdown. Touchdown really saved Devonta here, and might become a more touchdown-dependent player.
Yeah, Devonta Freeman is a huge sell for me. They just can't run the ball. Most of his damage came through the air today, and that's where his touchdown was. Mm-hmm. I like that PPR upside that he has, but he's just not playing to the level that we expect him to play. There's a lot of other different running backs I'd rather have for him. I'd happily take Sony Michel for him. Now, I wouldn't trade Sony Michel straight up for Devonta Freeman because Devonta Freeman's value has to still be higher than Sony Michel's. So I'd be looking to do a 2-for-2 where I trade Devonta Freeman and another player, say a wide receiver, take a bump at wide receiver and take back Sony Michel, and I'm definitely winning that trade. I'd actually be okay with doing it with David Montgomery as well, but I'd be looking for a bigger bump at the other position. Tune into our Trade Talk show later this week. We'll get deeper into the Devonta Freeman value for the second time this year. As for the Texans, big 3-touchdown game for DeAndre. Oh, that was Will Fuller. Kenny Stills' replacement coming up big with Kenny Stills out for the game. The 16 targets is what's actually the most surprising thing for me. Matt, do you think that Will Fuller is a buy for the rest of the season?
He's not a buy at expecting this kind of production, obviously.
Where do you have him ranked then?
He's going to be around 30 to 35 wide receiver still for me for standard.
Okay.
Stills and himself are going to kind of cancel each other out some of the times, which was happening weeks 1 through 4. So yeah, I can't really trust Will Fuller here. In terms of the running backs, what's to say about this? I trust Duke more than I trust Carlos Hyde, and I think Duke's going to last longer.
Yeah, I also think Duke is going to last longer. Carlos Hyde looks to be kind of on his last legs, but in standard right now, if I have to start one, it's going to be Carlos Hyde, and in PPR, it's going to be Duke. As for Will Fuller, do you actually think Kenny Stills comes back and cuts into his target share, or do you think maybe Kenny Stills gets relegated to the bench after seeing this performance by Will Fuller?
Like, Fuller's going to be ahead of him again. I think it was kind of shifting maybe a little bit, but 16 targets, of course, Kenny Stills is going to cut into that a little bit. He's not going to get 16 targets. Fuller is your typical 5-6 targets a game guy, and he does this. He blows up once in a while, and fantasy owners just keep waiting for it the rest of the time.
And DeAndre Hopkins came out with a decent game, but didn't do much till the fourth quarter, where he got most of his points. Obviously not a panic there, and great game for Deshaun Watson. Moving on, Ravens at Steelers. Surprised by how bad of a game Lamar Jackson had through the air, but he doesn't have a lot of good weapons around him outside of Andrews and Hollywood Brown. He has that high floor with his legs, though, every week, so he's definitely a good start every week. And I am going to say this for the people in the back who haven't heard it yet. Grab Gus Edwards if you have Mark Ingram.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit with Lamar Jackson going into the season, that he is going to have his up and down games. He's going to have that really low, really high floor with his rushing totals. He's still going to be a number 7 to 8 quarterback going forward for me, so I'm not overly concerned about this performance that wasn't that great from him. Mark Ingram is somebody that, and for good reason, you're grabbing Gus Edwards. Mark Ingram is starting to slow down a little bit, and it's only week 5. Like, that's a little bit of a concern. He's still got lots of volume, but he's just his yards per carry aren't very good. Willie Snead led this team in receiving yards today. That's not good for them. Hollywood Brown got the touchdown. Mark Andrews is still okay, but he's coming down a little bit after a bit hot start from him. Pittsburgh, Mason Rudolph got injured, scary injury. Was okay before that. Devlin Hodges came in and did okay. Not great, but fine. Decent day for Juju, kind of a bounce back there, aside from the fumble in overtime. And James Conner, 14 carries, 55 yards, but the touchdown saved his day. No receptions for Conner.
Yeah, surprised with no receptions for Conner. He's always been kind of a PPR, upside play. Jalen Samuels had the interception today and really wasn't a big part of the game at all. Deontay Johnson led the team with 8 targets. Juju had 7, and James Washington had 6. My biggest takeaway of this game was the fact that they made Rudolph walk off the field after that hit because they didn't have any power in the cart to get him off. Come on, people. Moving on to the Bills at the Titans. Frank Gore continues to run well, but no scores today. To me, he's a borderline start/high flex as long as Singletary doesn't suit up. 9 different pass catchers were targeted in this one, with John Brown leading the way with 5, which is the same as Yeldon, and tight end Knox, who's moving up the board slowly and going to get into that top 20 to 25 range in time. But right now, you cannot start any pass catcher on this team. Matt?
Yeah, I'll echo that. Gore is startable until Singletary comes back. Then he's more into the flex play in standard leagues. Tennessee, we're not starting any pass catcher on this team. We kind of warned you after that game against Atlanta. Don't buy this. This isn't their normal offense. And they're kind of proving that for us. Derrick Henry is a startable asset on the team, but he's the only startable player that I see on this whole Titans offense.
Yeah, even Delaney Walker coming back down from me outside of the top 10, borderline top 15 at best at this point. This offense just doesn't have the volume in the passing game. But I'm happy with what Derrick Henry's doing. He's not blowing me away, but he's getting the volume, and that's all I care about with him. He gets volume, he gets yards, he gets touchdowns. Great in standard. Moving on, Bears at Raiders, and this was the shock of the week for me. I thought the Bears would suffocate this Raiders offense and just run all day, but that wasn't the case. Montgomery only 11 carries and 1 catch, and that's just not good enough. I get that they were trailing all day. Tariq Cohen having 7 targets, going 6 for 39 shows that. But they need more from Montgomery. Backup quarterback shouldn't matter. Montgomery should still be able to get more touches, even when they're trailing. Nice game for Robinson, though, with Gabriel out. And Anthony Miller had 7 targets and finished 4 for 52. Finally, Trey Burton is dead. Not relevant for me.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit. When they go overseas to London, everything's just kind of off the table. You don't know what you're going to get.
It's the tall hats that they wear.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, great day for Allen Robinson. And, you're still starting Montgomery as a flex situation and maybe low-end RB2 around 25-ish for me in standard. I still think he's going to get the volume. It's just kind of a weird one today. In terms of the Raiders, great day for Josh Jacobs. Very disappointing day for Darren Waller. We thought that he would be a good play with literally nobody else out there to catch the ball, but they only targeted him 5 times. He caught 4 of them, but you would have thought that he would have got about 10 targets anyway.
Yeah, big whiff for me on Josh Jacobs this week. As I mentioned, I expected the Bears to lead this one start to finish and just kind of bear down on them and force them to pass all day, and was where Waller came in once Ty Williams was out. Did not happen. Raiders got the lead, held on to it. 26 carries, 3 catches, 143 total yards, and 2 scores for Josh Jacobs. I expected him to have a similar stat line to what Le'Veon Bell did today. As you mentioned, London be crazy. Moving on, Jaguars at Panthers. Matt, why don't you sing to us about the star wide receiver for the Jaguars one more time?
Last time. DJ Chark do 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 DJ Chark do 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 DJ Chark do 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 DJ Chark. All right, that's it for that. Nice day for Gardner Minshew here. 300 and almost 80 yards passing. Don't expect that at all.
You say 380 or 280?
374, man.
Wow.
Yeah. DJ 164 yards. He's obviously not going to do that. He's more of a sell high candidate right now for me. Good day for Leonard Fournette. We're probably going to see similar stats to that going forward, I think. But don't buy Gardner Minshew. I'm not starting him outside of a 2-quarterback league.
Yeah, and even in a 2-quarterback league, you're probably going to have him on the bench most weeks. This was a game where they were trailing all day with Christian McCaffrey doing his thing. Like you said, it's time to sell high on DJ Chark. We've been saying that for a little bit now. He had 3 touchdowns coming into this one. We figured he finished the season with 8. Put up 2 more today. So maybe he gets to 10, but I don't know. 5 touchdowns in 5 games, almost 100 yards per game with 240-plus yard reception games. Defenses are going to start noticing him, and what it's doing right now is it's opening up things for Leonard Fournette. So Leonard Fournette's a buy for me, and DJ Chark is a sell high for me. The only other thing I'll mention here, D.D. Westbrook, 11 targets in this one. Another reason I'm looking to sell. He had 82 yards, and you could definitely see a week where DJ Chark goes 3 for 40, and D.D. Westbrook goes 8 for 120 in a score. And now he's the player they're talking about. Is he back to being the number 1? If you can get something for Chark right now, like another top 25 wide receiver, do it. Panthers. Christian McCaffrey looks like the number 1 player in fantasy, just as I predicted, for about 3 days in the summer, I guess, before going back to Barkley. Anyways, DJ Moore came through with your prediction. 8 targets, just as you predicted in the pregame show. If you don't watch our pregame show, you need to tune in every Sunday, 1 hour before kickoff on YouTube. We go over our rankings gap. We play the Sunday Showdown, and we answer all your fantasy football questions. So make sure to join us before Week 6. As for DJ Moore, this is enough for me to move him back into the top 35 every week. So he's going to be starting 3 wide receiver sets. Down game for Olsen, but he's still top 15 for me every week.
Yeah, Greg Olsen was a big disappointment. I thought he was going to have a pretty good game. Thought the Jags would be all over Kyle Allen, which would lead to him dumping it off to Olsen. Unfortunately, that was Christian McCaffrey that he was looking to in that situation today. Yeah, there's not anything else to say about McCaffrey. DJ Moore, yeah, he's going to have around that 20 to 25 wide receiver for me. And Curtis Samuel is no longer really a startable player, maybe a good best ball play.
Yeah, best ball play at best. Moving on, Vikings at Giants. 306 yards, 2 touchdowns for Cousins, our number 1 quarterback to grab after the waivers ran this week. Make sure you check out our Tuesday waiver article. Drops every Tuesday morning at BlueDuckFantasy.com. and possibly the quietest 200-plus total yard game ever by Dalvin Cook. 21 for 132 on the ground, 6 for 86 on 6 targets through the air. The man just won't stop. Thielen had a squeaky wheel game with 7, 130, and 2, but Diggs only had 3 for 44. You had mentioned before we went talking about the podcast that Diggs now says he wants to be in Minnesota. It's definitely a situation to keep an eye on. Thielen's value goes up big time in PPR if Diggs is gone, and I think a little bit in standard, but hopefully Diggs stays there. This is a good offense, or can be a good offense. They've been run a lot more this year, but I don't know. Matt, your thoughts on the Vikings?
I mean, Cook is always going to be good. We know that already. But just be kind of leery on Cousins and them. It's the Giants' defense. They're not very good. I mean, other teams have been torching them as well. Thielen and Diggs are going to be fine overall. I thought Diggs would have more than 4 targets given the trade thing this week. But, I mean, in terms of that, like, what else is he going to say? I mean, I don't think he's going to just keep saying he wants out of town. Alexander Mattison had a good day when he was called upon. 7 carries for 52 yards, 7.5 yards per carry. You should have Alexander Mattison, especially if you have Dalvin Cook. If he's on the waiver wire still, I'm not sure what his ownership is, but it's probably not that terribly high. But anyhow, I would pick up Alexander Mattison just in case, or when we expect Dalvin Cook will go down with an injury here. New York Giants, Wayne Gallman went down today with a concussion. You were probably only getting this week out of him, maybe Thursday night, but it sounds like Saquon's coming around the corner there. So you weren't going to use him much longer anyway. Sterling Shepard, still the number 1 pass catcher along with Evan Ingram. Don't buy the Darius Slayton here. He's got the 1 long touchdown, but he was out-targeted by twice as many by Shepard, and like I said, Ingram's going to be fine. 42 yards only today, but overall he should be good.
Yeah, as you mentioned, avoid Darius Slayton. He's at best the 5th pass catcher on this team. You have Barkley, you have Shepard and Ingram, then you have Golden Tate, and then you have him. You're not looking to play the number 5 pass catcher on a less than average offense, so stay away from that. Nothing else to say there. Unfortunate for Gallman, a lot of people probably had him in their lineup, and he had played well last week. But this is probably his last week. He probably won't clear concussion protocol by Thursday either, so you're probably done with him. Moving on, Patriots at Washington. I'm going to remain bullish on Sony Michel as this is a run-first team. They just forgot that in the first half today, which is why they threw 42 times in total against Washington in a blowout. Don't expect Brady to throw that many times again this year. Outside of a date with the Chiefs or possibly the Ravens, 9 different players targeted by Brady, with White and Edelman leading the team with 9 and Gordon with 8. Josh Gordon's points are coming. Don't panic sell. If you can get something decent for him in return, by all means, take it if you like it. For me, White's PPR value remains, but his standard value is dropping. 72 total yards today. That was on 6 catches, which is above average for him. Matt, your thoughts on the Patriots in this one?
Yeah, I wouldn't panic on Josh Gordon. I don't think you can even trade him at this point. I don't think his value is going to be high enough to make it worthwhile.
That's a good point.
Brady's not going to throw 42 times. Having said that, every game, it's New England. They're weird. They throw when they should pass, and they pass when they should. They throw when they should run, and they run when they should throw. It's just kind of a weird offense altogether. Sony Michel looks fine. Not really anything to panic over. He has had those bad games, though. Edelman, he keeps doing it. I don't know when he's going to stop, but I would still put Gordon ahead of him in standard for sure. For Washington, zero interest in any of these players. The lone exception, I guess, is Terry McLaurin. Plays Miami next week. It should be a decent start that week.
Yes, and after that date with Miami, you should put Terry McLaurin on the trade block because there's probably not going to be too many other weeks where you're confident starting him. He's going to take a spot up on your bench all season for nothing because you're never going to put him in the lineup. He's going to have a good game. Then you might decide, I'll put him in this week. Then you have a bad game. With the quarterback situation here, you can't trust him. Keep him for a week. Let him go off against the Dolphins and then try to put him into a package and trade him to get an upgrade at a different position or something. Make sure you tune into our trade talk segment this week. We'll definitely talk about Terry McLaurin and some possible trade ideas. But yeah, nobody else on Washington's team interests me. Moving on to the Jets and Eagles. Matt, looks like Le'Veon Bell and his 88 total yards are not going to finish in the top 20 running backs in standard this week. So why don't you defend Le'Veon Bell as a starter in standard formats going forward?
The thing to remember with Le'Veon and almost this whole offense is it's going to improve when the quarterback play improves, and Sam Darnold is going to be back soon, we hope. Looked like he was going to be back this week until I think Friday they rolled him out. Yeah, he's going to be a high-volume play, and teams aren't going to be able to focus solely on stopping Le'Veon once Darnold's out. The rest of the guys will be they get an uptick as well. Crowder, Anderson, Herndon, now that he's back. They're going to be all okay plays once Darnold's back in this offense.
Okay, I'll buy that a bit. I think that once Darnold gets back in the offense, the team improves, and Le'Veon will go being a borderline start in the 20 range for me. Definitely still has that PPR value, though. 7 catches today. Definitely a stud in PPR. One of the surprising things today was Demaryius Thomas leading the team, tied with Bell with 9 targets. Now, he's not fantasy relevant, but this does hurt the value of Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder, even when Sam Darnold comes back. And let's not forget Chris Herndon also coming back next week. Suspension over. It's going to hurt his value as well. And this might be a situation where because Demaryius Thomas is there, you're not going to know who's going to have the big week, and it's not going to be consistent with any of them, and none of them are startable. So the Robbie Anderson breakout that some people thought, the Jamison Crowder huge PPR value we saw in week 1, they just might not exist, and this might just be a team where Le'Veon Bell is the only person you can start in fantasy.
Philly, Wentz, not a great day. They were up most of the day. You can't really expect that. That he wasn't going to throw it a ton. They're not New England. They don't just throw it because. Running backs here, it's this murky situation here. Howard and Sanders. I think I like Howard more in standard right now, but it's very tight. And Zach Ertz finally got off to Schneider with a touchdown. Alshon had a pretty good day. I'm not interested in like Aguilar now that 3 targets, 1 catch for 20 yards. That's nothing that interests me. With Jackson coming back, hopefully soon, he's no longer fantasy relevant.
Yeah, it's back-to-back weeks with Aguilar doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, 6 for 52 for Alshon isn't a great week, but like you said, they weren't passing much. They didn't need to. They had 2 defensive touchdowns. And when you get a defensive touchdown, it keeps your offense off the field and just allows the other team's offense to get right back out there. So time of possession, I'm sure, wasn't in the Eagles' favor. Definitely the play counts weren't. They definitely ran less plays than the Jets did. I'm going to agree with you, kind of. I still prefer Sanders in standard rest of season just because I think eventually that workload's going to come and he's going to be the better player to start because I don't want to start either of them right now. So I'll wait for that to develop. I'll be patient with Sanders, and I would still look to trade Jordan Howard just like you did in our one league this week. Congratulations.
Thank you. Got a touchdown still. It was still a decent day for Howard.
Well, the player you traded him for had 2 touchdowns.
That's true.
Moving on, Tampa Bay at the Saints. Mike Evans got shadowed today, I guess. This New Orleans defense is better than we expected. Chris Godwin, 7, 125, and 2 touchdowns. Just keeps going. Matt, where do you rank Chris Godwin rest of season?
He's still going to be behind Mike Evans. I don't think he's the top pass catcher on this offense even. I'm going to say roughly 15. I feel like he might be slightly higher than that, maybe pushing to 12, but in that vicinity.
I actually have him at 12.
Okay. The Tampa Bay running back situation still is baffling. 9 carries for Ronald Jones, 8 for Barber, 1 touchdown for Barber. Like I don't know what to make of this backfield. It's
frustration.
Yeah, and you've said it every week on this podcast. It's frustrating. How can you trust either one of these guys? You really can't. OJ Howard is just.
Oh my god.
I can't even. You can't even start OJ Howard anymore if he's getting 2 targets a game. Like this is terrible. I mean, Arians doesn't like tight ends, we know, but didn't see this one coming.
It's kind of odd how Eagles and Tampa Bay game seem to get stacked one after the other every week, so we keep talking about these running back situations. Yeah. But, yeah, the O.J. Howard thing, man. Is he startable even?
I don't think so anymore. We're getting 2 targets a game in a game where you have to be passing the ball. I mean, they passed it 27 times, got sacked 6 times, so they dropped back to pass 33 times. He got 2 looks. Not startable.
I'm going to list off some tight ends, just as we did before.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to count 12 that we'd rather have next week than O.J. Howard. So we'll get the obvious ones out of the way. Kelsey, Kittle, Ertz, Ingram, Andrews. I don't know who's on bye, but we're just going to do all the teams. Darren Waller, Will Dissly. So we're at 7. Austin Hooper.
Yep.
Greg Olsen.
Yes.
Okay, so we are at 9 currently. Who was on bye this week? We had Hawk. And of course, the high-powered Miami Dolphins offense and their tight end, Mike Gesicki, was on bye this week as well. So we were at 9. TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Ahead of O.J. Howard.
If he's healthy.
10. We already said Greg Olsen. Yep. Jimmy Graham.
That one's really close. I don't know if I could put him ahead of O.J.
Delaney Walker.
Yeah, I think so.
Eric Ebron.
No, I can't do it with Ebron.
Witten.
No.
Cook.
No. Okay.
Vance,
yes.
Vance McDonald?
Is that what you said?
I said Fant, but
sorry.
Vance McDonald is here as well.
Okay.
So Vance McDonald will knock him out of the top 12 then.
Yeah, for me.
There we go. I'd put him ahead of Delaney Walker and Hawkinson, so he's still top 10 for me, unfortunately. Okay, that was fun. Moving on here to the Saints. Matt, why don't you tell us about the Saints?
A nice passing day for Teddy Bridgewater. Nice passing day for Alvin Kamara. 13 yards. But anyway, no, Bridge had a really nice day. Really nice day for Michael Thomas. They seem to be getting on the same page here. Nice volume play for Alvin Kamara, 22 touches. I mean, that's expected. We don't need to talk about him too much. Don't buy again. I mean, he got 1 long touchdown for 33 yards. But Thomas and Kamara are really the only guys you can trust out of this offense still until Breeze is back.
Agreed with that. One of the things about this game, we talked about it last week, Mike Thomas's dynasty value if he has Teddy Bridgewater going forward. You see a game like this, 13 targets, 11 catches, 182 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Makes me feel pretty confident in Michael Thomas and makes me want to move that value up from outside the top 10 into just outside the top 5 now. So good job, Teddy Bridgewater. I wish somebody had predicted that he was a sneaky DFS play earlier in the week. Oh, wait, I did. Hopefully you played him. I said I wasn't feeling very sneaky. Wish I should have because Aaron Rodgers did not help out my DFS lineup and probably cost me from cashing. Thanks a lot, Aaron. We now have beef. It was nice to see signs of life from Cook and Ginn, but as you mentioned, Thomas and Kamara are the only ones you can start on this team outside of DFS. Moving on, the Broncos Chargers. The Broncos get on their board with their first win of the season, and this running back situation is officially a split now if it wasn't before already. Lindsey is the better of the 2 backs, especially in PPR because he does catch more passes, but he ran well today, but Freeman's running well as well. This is going to be a committee with the 2 of them going 50-50. And my boy, Courtland Sutton, continues to dominate. I don't know where he's up to in the wide receiver rankings. He's probably behind DJ Chark, actually. But he's got to be getting into that top 25, which is where I said he was going to finish. Top 25 wide receiver. And Sanders' role continues to dwindle as the season goes on. But today was more about the weak run D where they just ran all over him. Sanders is still a flexible player at this point. But I think he's going to kind of run out of gas as the season goes on, and you're going to see less and less of him. Matt, Broncos?
Yeah, just the 1 target there for Emmanuel Sanders today. I mean, he's going to probably have up and down games. He's already done that a little bit this year. And like you said, split in the running backs. The Lindsey's going to be higher, so he's going to be sticking in the 20s. Freeman's going to be more in the 30s for myself here. And yes, Sutton is definitely getting himself inside the top 30 this next week here if he wasn't already there for you. Chargers, nice target game for Mike Williams. Finally came out of the woodwork there. He was hurt a few times, but he kept coming back, so good for you, Mike. 74 yards. Would have liked to see him get a touchdown there, but Rivers didn't throw any touchdowns. and Eckler had 16 targets, and Melvin Gordon was the primary runner, but Eckler's still going to have that role, especially in PPR.
Yeah, it was a terrible game for Rivers against this tough pass D, which hasn't been as tough as it was today. Melvin Gordon didn't do much in his return. 15 catches for Eckler, though. Yeah. That PPR value is not going anywhere. He's going to stay inside the top 30 for me. Melvin's going to have to work his way into his top 10 spot from last year, top 5 spot, and it's going to take some time. He's going to have to shake the rust off. We've talked about players who miss camp and come into the season. They are, number one, injury prone, and number two, take time to get going. The last case we saw of this, other than Zeke this year, who hasn't, been amazing yet. He hasn't been his usual self. Was a couple years ago when Le'Veon Bell held out, and it took him through 2 to 3 weeks before he got going again. So expect that same thing with Melvin Gordon. Mike Williams got hurt, half a dozen times today? Yeah. Kept coming back in there. Not much else to add there. So why don't we move on to the Packers at Cowboys?
Packers, somebody there had a really good day. I think it was a running back that I was really high on before the season started.
Jamal Williams didn't play today, Matt, so you can't be talking about him.
No, Aaron Jones, obviously everybody knows he had huge day, 4 touchdowns, almost 200 yards all-purpose. Shows what he can do when he's not sharing touches. Only 19 carries yet. They probably could have ran him a little bit more. Aaron Rodgers, with having 4 rushing touchdowns, usually means the quarterback isn't throwing much or any. So that's what happened today. Probably a big factor in that was Devontae Adams not being available either. Adams looks like the only receiver you're going to want out of this group. Like MVS should have had a great day. It was 4 targets for 1 catch, 18 yards. Jimmy Graham caught all 3 of his targets.
Didn't drop any. Good job.
No, and it was just kind of a strange one for Rodgers. I mean, the running game was working so well, there's no reason to go away from it, and that's what the Packers did to win the game.
Yeah, and that obviously played a role in Marquez Valdez-Scantling's performance, as well as Geronimo Allison's. I think that if Adams is out, don't think that they're going to put up performances like this. As Matt mentioned, this was all about Aaron Jones in a very important game for Aaron Jones. With Jamal Williams out, he was given the chance to prove he should not be in a committee, and he did just that. They tried to put the backup running back in there a bit. He ran okay, but Aaron Jones really showed he should be a bell cow back today. It's fortunate for him. He's a player that I traded away because of the Jamal Williams, how well he was playing, and how the coach was talking about him cutting into his carries. I can't see them putting Jamal Williams back in there in the same role that they had him in previous to the injury. It's going to take Aaron Jones weeks to play poorly for Jamal Williams to get pulled back in there. So Aaron Jones going up in value for me. Fortunate for the injury. Congratulations, Aaron Jones. You're going to be back into around the top 10. As for the Cowboys, Michael Gallup to me is the real deal. 7 for 113 and 1 in this one. He was playing well before the injury. He comes back. He has another big game. Surprising big game for Cooper against this, Packers pass D that was pretty good. I guess it didn't last more than 4 weeks, though. Both double-digit targets. This is a tough duo to deal with. It's upping Dak's value for me. I like Gallup as a top 30 play rest of the season. Matt, where do you have him ranked?
I haven't thought about him too much, but I'm thinking just off the top of my head about 35-ish for Gallup. Still not huge buyer on it. It was kind of a weird game. Like, their pass defense was shutting them down for the first half. I mean, Cooper had about 100 yards at halftime there, but Gallup we'd barely seen. And it just naturally, they took the gas off when it was like 24-3 or whatever it was. And then Cooper had that big day, that big play at near the end of the game there with a 53-yard touchdown. Cooper's going to be someone that's going to stay in the top 10. Zeke is
Zeke is
top
Zeke.
5. Yeah, it's easy.
I actually think Dak is going to be inside the top 10 most weeks for me now going forward. I've been a Dak hater, I guess I can say, for a while. It's just he has the weapons now. I liked Gallup coming out of college last year, and I really liked the opportunity. I didn't think he was the best wide receiver in the class. I thought he was a big-bodied wide receiver who had some skills. But then he brought in Cooper, and I was like, okay, his value's toast. But now he's showing, and Dak's showing that, hey, they can support 2 wide receivers in this offense. So, Matt, I'm going to read you some names for the rest of the season. Just going off the rankings for this week, and you tell me who you'd rather have.
Sure.
Michael Gallup or this player. You want me to start at the higher end or the lower end?
Start low, will work way to better players.
Okay, Deebo Samuel.
Gallup.
Okay, this player is very low for this week, but he's going to be higher. So, DJ Chark.
I'm going to take Chark after him.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin.
Gallup.
The 2 Kansas City wide receivers, Robinson and Hardman.
I'll take him over Robinson. Rest of season, right?
Rest of season, yeah.
So, yeah, when Tyree comes back, he'll leapfrog Hardman, too.
Tough one coming up. Will Fuller.
That is tougher than you'd expect, especially with the recency bias here. Both had nice days today. I'm going to go Gallup because I think he's going to be a little bit more consistent.
I'm agreeing with you 100% going so far. Emmanuel Sanders.
I'm going to take Gallup. I don't trust Emmanuel to stay up there all year.
DK Metcalf.
Gallup.
Marquise Brown.
Hollywood Brown.
Okay. I skipped ahead because he was the name. I knew you were going to pick this one ahead of Gallup. So Mike Williams.
Mike Williams. Beast.
DJ Moore.
DJ.
Tyrell Williams.
Tyrell, yeah.
Yeah, so we've gotten to the point where it's going to be all Gallup. So based on the rankings here, he's falling at about where you put him, 34. But that's with a player like Marquez Valdez-Scantling at 27. Who would you rather have rest of the season, Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Michael Gallup?
I'll take Gallup over MVS rest of season.
And number 2 in Dallas over the number 2 in Green Bay. That's interesting. Let's move on. It's enough Gallup talk. That's actually the last game.
Yeah, just the last thing to throw in on this with is Cooper and Gallup both got 14 targets. But generally speaking, Zeke is going to have more than 12 carries. They were down big. They couldn't run as much as I'm sure they wanted to. So don't expect like 14 targets a game for either one of these two.
We expect what for Cooper, what for Gallup rest of the season?
I'd say like 10 and 7.
Okay. I was going to say like about 8 for Gallup, but I thought that was a bit high. 10 and 7 sounds about right. But 7 targets, that's a pretty decent amount to get. And, Zeke commands a lot of attention there. Anything to add?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you're doing both.
That's it.